Hey everybody, Courtney here, aka the okayest trail runner, also now known as the okayest injured trail runner. I'm going to be starting a series here on social media sharing my experience and process rehabbing my Achilles tendon. This is something that I've been dealing with for 4 years. I thought that I was kind of on the up and up with it, but had a pretty bad flare up this spring, and I just wanted to share this experience because I know how incredibly frustrating this process is. Tendon rehab is just not straightforward. It's not black and white. It's different for everybody. So I wanted to share my story. Being an ultra runner, being somebody who is so passionate about running, it's very difficult to have to scale that back. And I think that, being able to share my story and hopefully help others is also pretty rewarding for me. So I hope that you like, subscribe, follow. I'm going to be sharing more with my journey with you here soon. All right, so let's continue the story of what exactly happened with my Achilles. How did this start? I've been a runner since I was 14 and never had Achilles tendon issues until I started trail running. So very likely that was the culprit. When I ran when I was younger, I was put in a stability shoe very early on. I always ran in a shoe with a higher heel to toe drop, which is a stat that you'll find on the shoe. It's basically the differential from where your heel sits to your toe. If you think of like a stiletto, that's a heel to toe drop. Anyways, and that shortens the tendon, right? So I think over the years between that, wearing heels at work early on, which is so silly, I just didn't have the world's strongest Achilles tendon. And so I went out, started trail running, climbing hills, and about 6 months into trail running, which was 2020, I started to get this burning sensation closer to almost the base of my heel bone, which I later learned is insertional Achilles tendinopathy, which is the harder one to treat, and honestly the one that you'll see a little bit more in trail and ultra runners. The one that's a little bit easier to treat is mid-portion tendinopathy, and that's just a little bit higher, almost like around your ankle portion. So it's important if you're just experiencing this and you're like, okay, I'm experiencing pain in what I think is my Achilles, to clearly identify and communicate to your PT where that pain is, because the treatment plan depends on the location of the pain. So anyways, I didn't know that originally. I also wasn't very smart. I kind of just kept running through this pain. I ran my first 50K with a tendinopathy. I had no idea really what it was. Eventually I went out, sought out PT, didn't have a lot of luck in the first year. I actually got some really bad advice. That's another reason I want to do this and share my stories, because unfortunately, for better or for worse, there's a lot of bad advice and just misnomers about how to properly treat a tendon. For example, you may hear advice to rest and to stretch and to ice it and to take NSAIDs. And those things, generally speaking, aren't necessarily what you want to be doing to heal the tendon. So anyways, eventually I found a good physiotherapist. Shout out to Bethany from Physio 330 in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. She's phenomenal. She took me from 7 out of 10 pain levels running all the way down to 0 by spring 2024. And she was just incredible to work with. She was dedicated. What you want to look for when you're looking for a physiotherapist is obviously somebody who works with runners, who truly considers themselves somewhat of an expert at tendon rehab, and somebody that's going to communicate with you like throughout the week, that'll guide your plan. What I've learned is that, tendons are very finicky. They have a personality, and things change every single day. And so it's something that you have to monitor constantly, and having the right PT is so, so important. So, as I share my story and my experiences here with you, the exercises that I'm doing, I just want to give a disclaimer that this is not one size fits all for everybody. The exercises that you should be doing are probably going to be different than what I am doing in this very late stage, and you want to work with a physiotherapist on that. So don't just follow my rules and what I'm doing. Don't listen to me. I'm sharing this to encourage you, hopefully, and to share my experience, but please make sure that you're working with a qualified professional. And the other thing I'd highly recommend is getting your tendon imaged through MRI and or ultrasound. I recently did that. It's something I've been doing for the past 4 years since I've been dealing with this, is getting it imaged every year just to make sure that there aren't any major tears, quote unquote, tears in the tendon or other issues. So how my story progressed, as I said, about a year ago, I was in a really good place. I was running without pain, and honestly, I thought I had gotten over this. Then I moved to Colorado and it's a little bit hillier out here, and I started ramping up my training this spring, And the last weekend in February, I have a note in my training plan saying Achilles flare. And it was back to insertional pain right at my heel. And I knew something was wrong. I made the decision that I was going to continue with my training. I ran the Leadville Marathon, which I was very happy I did, honestly, at the end of June. And it was a phenomenal experience, but absolutely set me back in terms of my tendon rehab. So what happened is the nature of the pain changed to feel more like a burning and stinging. And what happened is that because of the constant pulling tendon on the bone, it just caused bursitis, inflammation, what's called a bone marrow edema. It's extremely painful. So I wouldn't have any pain while running, but after the run, I would stiffen up and have this burning, sharp pain. So that's where I am now, and I am starting a new rehab cycle. So I'm going to be sharing my experience with you. I really feel like I'm in the first real week of this. What exercises am I doing? What am I doing with my diet? How am I still running? What does that look like? When do I have to scale back? And I'm going to share it all for you, just so hopefully you feel encouraged that if you are dealing with this, you are certainly not alone. It is possible to rehab the tendon, even if you have minor tears. These things are all fixable. So thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I'm so excited to share it with you. It's so fulfilling for me to be able to help others. So thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and follow to hear the rest of my story. See you.